Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music, any old way you choose it.
Hello, this is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, and I'll be spinning some rockin' 50s records every week here on my channel, as well as sharing some cool Coca-Cola collectibles and other neat vintage finds. Stay tuned! Hey guys, this is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, back with another great video for you today. In this video, we are talking advertising, and not just any advertising, but typewriter ribbon tins. I have some amazing tins to share with you, including one from the late 1800s. Yes, you heard that right. And it cost me 30 smackaroos, and I've had to wait many months because it's come from London. But oh my word, am I so excited. It arrived safe and sound, and I am absolutely smitten, if you can say that, by a typewriter ribbon tin. Oh my. So if you have not checked out my vintage deep dive on typewriter ribbon tins, you definitely want to do that. And I have it linked down below, but you can also go to Trusty Huckster Mercantile's YouTube channel. Patrick invited me to do the deep dive, and I was so honored to do that. So thank you, Patrick. And if you have not seen any of the other vintage deep dives, you really don't want to miss those, because you will learn so much about very specific areas of collecting. So Vintage Vinny has been on with his Coca-Cola tray collection. We've had Tim, and over the years, with his uranium glass. And we've had a wonderful costumer on talking about 1950s period accurate clothing. And we will have the famous Laura Bemos from the chat on talking about dominoes, so that ought to be really interesting. You do not want to miss that, and I will link his channel down below. So before I show you this really exciting tin that I got, I have to give you a little bit of background history on ribbon sizes. So this is a 1/2 inch ribbon tin, and this is a 1 1/2 inch ribbon tin. And you can see the difference in sizes. This is a tall tin, and this is the smaller round hockey puck tin. So Scholl's was the first typewriter in 1874 to be really big. It was made by Remington. It was quite popular, and Remington had several companies working for them at the time to produce the ribbons. So typically you had the company that made the typewriter, the company that made the ribbons, and then the company that made the tin. Sometimes it was done all under one roof, but usually it was separated out. So Remington hired Underwood to make the ribbon, and eventually Remington decided, well, let's just make the ribbon ourselves. I mean, why not? And they got rid of all these other companies, including Underwood, that was working for them to produce the ribbon. And of course, Underwood was really upset by that. So they decided to seek revenge. And this is where it gets really interesting, because in 1895, Underwood came out with their very first typewriter, and it was the best typewriter on the market because it really revolutionized how ribbon was made and how ribbon got standardized. Because before, as I mentioned, all ribbon was 1 1/2 inch sizes. So Underwood got the last laugh because they standardized the ribbon size for typewriters, and all the way up until 1960, when they stopped producing ribbon, they used 1/2 inch ribbon sizes. So yay, yay, yay for Underwood, turning something that was terrible into something that was really awesome. So I absolutely love that story, and it really does help you date the tins, because now these tins have to be after 1895, and these tins can be before. So when you look at ribbon tins, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that looks a little bit Art Deco, so that can't be too new. And you're right, this is from 1930, but it is 1/2 inch. This is probably from 1920. Now, it was standardized in 1895 for 1/2 inch, but it took a while for companies to kind of convert over to that size. So I would say by 1930 is when you really start to see the ribbon size being standardized at 1/2 inch. But aren't these tins just absolutely amazing. Now, if you notice on the older tins, you'll start to see a lot of typewriters. And that's primarily because there was a big focus on quality and not so much the design of the tin. Now, into the early 50s, you start to see more of a focus on the actual people who were using the ribbons, which were primarily secretaries. So you start to see designs that really had nothing to do with the typewriter ribbon, like this Carter's Midnight, which is just beautiful, but it really doesn't advertise typewriters or typewriter ribbons, to be quite honest with you. So I'm going to now show you the amazing tin that I picked up online. This is an original Remington tin that was used for probably one of the original Shoals typewriters. Oh my word. This is spectacular. Look at that graphic. Holy moly. Oh, I am in love with this tin. I mean, how can you not be? It's so amazing. So I want to show you something else that's really cool about this tin. Not just the fact that it held larger ribbon, but you can actually see who made the tin, which really helps you date this tin. Now, when you find Remington tins like this, pick them up, because you don't ever find these. These are, I'm not going to say rare because that word's overused, but they are really uncommon. And this tin is amazing. So on the bottom, you can actually see here that this was made by the Colony Can Company. And that is really significant, because the Colony Can Company started in 1886. Yes, 1886. Then they were bought by the American Can Company in 1901. A lot of companies from back then, like the Summers Brothers, they were all bought and consolidated into the American Can Company. So when you see something with the Colony Can Company listed, it's definitely old. Is that not amazing? And the next tin I'm going to share with you is really cool because it also has the American Can Company on it. So you have the Colony Can Company, and then you have the American Can Company represented now in my collection, which I am just thrilled about. This one, you can see, really promotes the fact that it's durable, because the ribbon name is Durable. Look at that. It is so cool, and you can see the 1/2 inch, 1 1/2 inch size right on the tin. I mean, you can see how wide and thick that ribbon was. And I love that red and beige graphic. And you can see right down here that it was made by the American Can Company, which is extra special, because now you sort of have a history of tins, which I think is spectacular. Oh, I can't believe it, guys. These are so amazing. And if you want to learn more about ribbon tins, you can check out this great book by Deryl Reher. I had the wonderful opportunity of speaking with him on the phone before my deep dive interview, and he is a wealth of knowledge. Now, this book also features office collectibles, antique and vintage typewriters. Not vintage, goodness gracious, Katie. Antique typewriters. So I am not sponsored by him, but I certainly recommend this book for the wealth of knowledge it has. And this is one of the biggest sections on typewriter ribbon tins in a book that I have ever seen. And my book's falling apart a little bit because I've used the heck out of it. But you can see there's an original Remington tin there, like the one I have. And then you can see the flat tin. That's even earlier. That is probably around 1870 or so when the first real tin was actually manufactured. And that was before they had spools. So if you even find that one, you've really struck gold, because that one's worth a ton of money. But I have this one here. And I think this book is really helpful. I mean, look at all the typewriter ribbons that are listed in here. They're just so many to look at. And I bought this book used, so that is why it is falling apart. but I can shove the pages back in and it works well for me. So I definitely recommend this book if you love advertising pieces like I do and you want to start collecting typewriter ribbon tins. There's so many fun designs out there, and for the most part they're relatively inexpensive to pick up, between $5 and $10, sometimes even lower at around $2, depending of course on the grade of the tin. This one is not in the best of shape. It's got dings and scratches on the lid, you can see there, and it definitely has its issues, but it is, to me, a wonderful piece to pick up. You don't see these tall tins very often, so they're very unique and worth getting if you see them. And then of course you have tins like this with just amazing graphics. So definitely worth keeping an eye out for these little guys when you're out shopping around. I hope this inspires you to start a collection of your own, and I hope you enjoyed the graphics on these tins. So for now, stay in, stay safe, and binge YouTube.
That's why I go for that rock and roll music.